The chamber's vast dome shimmered with artificial starlight, casting faint reflections off the polished obsidian floor. 1,000 voices in 1,000 languages buzzed through translator spheres suspended above the council seat. Then, quiet. Ambassador Elias Vance rose slowly, the human delegation's sigil glowing faintly on his chest. Eyes of every species turned toward him. He didn't clear his throat. He didn't ask for silence. He didn't need to. I hereby declare Earth's immediate withdrawal from all Galactic Council activity, effective this moment. The silence shattered like glass. Glowing translator orbs blinked violently, flickering as overlapping languages collided in chaotic bursts of sound. The Threxerai representative hissed, tendrils coiling in agitation. The Olorothai flared their bioluminescent warning signals. Some delegates stood, demanding explanation. Others turned to each other, whispering feverishly. The entire chamber leaned into the ripple Elias had just unleashed. High Chancellor Vectal's voice finally cut through the noise, smooth as poisoned silk. Ambassador Vance, surely this is a miscommunication. Earth has no authority to sever its role unilaterally. Elias met the reptilian's gaze. This is no miscommunication. The Terran Concordat no longer recognizes the authority of this council. A collective gasp swept the amphitheater. Even the automated recorders paused for a beat, their soft hums replaced by pulsing static. You overreach, Vectal said slowly. This chamber speaks for billions. You speak for one rogue world. Elias stepped forward, placing a sleek obsidian data core on the central pedestal. This contains evidence of the Council's duplicity. Sabotaged missions, silenced colonies, trade sanctions levied under false pretenses, crimes committed under the veil of bureaucracy. You're lying, Vectal hissed. No, Elias replied evenly. I'm done lying to myself. Chaos surged. Delegates shouted. Security drones activated. Several guards stepped between species ready to lash out. And in the middle of it all, Elias turned and walked away, calm, deliberate, untouched. As he passed the ornate arches leading from the chamber, a glint flickered in the corner of his eye. Instinct screamed. He ducked. A pulse round screamed over his shoulder, vaporizing a section of the pillar behind him. Gasps echoed again, not from shock but fear. Weapons in the council chambers were forbidden. Rhea Kale was already moving. The lieutenant commander emerged from behind the archway like a bullet in human form, pulse rifle drawn. Her shots hit the cloaked attacker square in the chest, twice. The assassin slumped forward, camo field dissipating. A Threxerai, pale scales painted in stealth dye. Council guards rushed in. Too late. You all right? Rhea asked, eyes scanning for more threat. Fine, Elias said, catching his breath. Didn't expect the mask to come off this early. We warned them, she muttered, kicking the fallen assassin's weapon away. They just didn't believe us. They moved quickly through the inner corridors of the station, shadows stretching beneath flickering lights. Emergency shutters slammed down behind them. Elias's personal comms buzzed with encrypted pings. Earth Command was already reacting. Extraction team en route, Rhea confirmed, voice clip. 10 minutes. Too long. She smirked. You say that every time. They ducked into a private shuttle bay, where a sleek diplomatic craft awaited. As the hangar doors sealed and the ship powered up, Elias finally sat down, eyes still locked on the data core now in his hand. 10 years of diplomatic service. Hundreds of signed agreements. Dozens of peace talks. And this single moment had shattered all of it. He remembered the last mission. The one that pushed him over the edge. A Terran relief convoy bound for a war-torn border colony had been ambushed, ships destroyed, crew lost. The Council had dismissed it as regional instability. But Elias knew better. The signatures on the disruptor mines matched Council stockpiles. Buried in layers of bureaucratic obfuscation was a truth the Council hoped no one would find. But he had. His personal comms blinked again. A direct message from Earth's defense network. Confirmed. Global recall order in effect. All embassies to stand down. Fleet units moving to defensive positions. He closed the message, jaw tightening. The ship broke free of Archanthal's gravity cradle and accelerated into the black. Elias looked back once. The council chambers were already shrinking, fading into a speck of light swallowed by the void. Back to Luna? Rhea asked. He nodded. Brief the War Council. Send copies of the core to encrypted receivers. And the originals? He stared down at the glowing data core in his hand. So much power in something so small. I'll deliver it myself. She glanced over at him. We're burning every bridge, Elias. Some bridges were never meant to be crossed. There was silence then, deep, cold, and infinite. The kind of silence only space could offer. But it wasn't empty. It pulsed with potential, with anger, with purpose, and as the Terran ship vanished into the dark, behind it, the Galactic Council burned with the heat of panic. Humanity hadn't declared war. But they had done something worse. They'd walked away. The council chambers no longer buzzed, they boiled. I want the Terran delegation declared fugitives, roared Chancellor Vectel, his voice distorted by the twin translators feeding his language into the room. The air shimmered with fury, glowing orbs blinking in frantic staccato. Representatives from the Varisi clans clicked their mandibles in approval. The Olorothai remained silent, their shimmering veils dim. Across the chamber, whispers turned into declarations, and declarations into accusations. They exposed our operations, snapped a karate admiral, tall and plated in hardened crimson scales. We should have eliminated them long before it reached this point. And now they've walked, hissed Counselor Zevlek, eyes black and lidless. Not with threats, not with violence, with confidence. That is far more dangerous. Vectel paced, claws tapping on the polished floor. What did we miss? How did we lose our grip on them? We underestimated them, murmured a rare voice of caution, Representative Ardle of the Vantari Syndicate, a species known more for trade than politics. Again. Vectel paused mid-step. The notion grated against him. Humans were useful, yes, ambitious, tireless, bold, but expendable. That was the Council's belief. Or had been. They exposed Level 7 data, said Zevlek, reviewing the reports. The Data Core Ambassador Vance left behind was scrubbed within minutes. But not before it triggered 1,000 queries across border network. The damage is done. Contain the rumors, Vectel ordered. It's spreading too fast, Ardle replied. Half the independent systems already suspect foul play. With this proof. Then we manufacture a counter-narrative. Terrorist infiltration. Rogue Terran faction. Anything. Spin it. A silence fell again. This time thoughtful, not stunned. The Council had weathered scandals before. Cover-ups were as integral to its foundation as the vast fleets guarding its borders. But this was different. We still hold military supremacy, said Admiral Trezel, the mechanical timbre of his voice echoing from beneath his battle mask. If they mean to challenge us, we meet force with force. Zevlek shook his head. You don't understand. They haven't declared anything. No war. No formal grievances. They've simply walked out as if the Council no longer matters. As if our laws, our rules, are irrelevant to them. The admission hung like smoke. It's psychological, said Ardle. They've shifted the dynamic. We can't threaten them without confirming their claims. We can't ignore them without looking weak. Vectel turned, eyes burning. Then we give them no time to consolidate. We hit now. A holomap flared to life in the center of the chamber. Terran space glowed in soft blue, marked by a defensive perimeter that had quietly expanded in recent years, automated outposts, orbital cannons, deep space sensors far beyond Council-sanctioned limit. The humans had been preparing. We deploy 2 fleets to the fringe, Vectel continued. Disrupt supply chains. Seize unaligned colonies. Make it hurt. An overt act of war? Ardle warned. No, Vectel said, baring teeth. An internal policing action. We'll claim it's about stability, protecting neutral systems from Terran aggression. And when they retaliate? Then we brand them the aggressors. Across the chamber, dozens of delegates exchanged looks, some reluctant, some eager. War always had backers. It fed the war machine, the trade monopolies, the shadow networks that financed both peace and blood. Still, cracks showed. The Threxerai assassin? Asked Zevlek. What of that? Officially disavowed, Vektal said coldly. We'll pin it on a rogue cell. You're walking a line, Ardal warned. If Earth broadcasts even half of what they know, then we drown it in our noise. We have allies in every major broadcast net. We push our version. Humans are erratic, dangerous, isolationist. Let fear do the work. Zevlek leaned forward. Do we really want this fight? It was a question that cut deeper than expected. Because for all the fire and fury, everyone in the chamber knew something they weren't saying aloud. They feared Earth. Not for its fleets, not for its tech, but for its unpredictability, its tenacity, its refusal to die quietly. And now, without the Council's leash, humanity could become something worse than a rebel. Could become free. Vektal turned from the chamber window, looking out at the orbital fleet guarding Arkanthal. He saw discipline, firepower, precision, but no heart. Earth, for all its chaos, had heart. Prepare the fleets, he said. We end this before it becomes something we can't control. Far below, in the archives, another system pinged, an encrypted transmission flagged by a dormant algorithm. It wasn't council-made. It wasn't even recent. But it carried a name, Vance, and it wasn't sent to Earth. In orbit above Mars, aboard the ESS Resolute, Earth's premier diplomatic cruiser turned command hub, the atmosphere was taut with quiet preparation. Commander Leona Vance stood before a holodeck pulsing with tactical overlays, her eyes scanning every update as though reading scripture. She hadn't slept in 36 hours. Council mobilization confirmed, said Major Thorne, her operations chief, pointing to the crimson nodes clustering near the fringe colonies. 2 full fleets, masked as peacekeeping, but there's no mistaking the routes. They're probing Terran territory. Leona didn't flinch. Expected. She tapped a section of space labeled Kepler Verge, the nearest human forward station, quietly fortified over the past 5 years. They're testing our resolve. Looking for weakness. We give them none. Orders to Captain Yarrow? Thorne asked. Hold position. No preemptive strikes. But if Council ships cross the Kepler line, respond. Decisively. Thorne nodded. Understood. She turned toward a secondary feed as Dr. Kalen, Earth's chief cyberpsychologist, appeared on the holo. A former diplomat-turned-strategist, his specialty was prediction through behavioral analysis. They're fracturing, he said without greeting. Our walkout disrupted more than policy. You shattered their illusion of control. Not enough, Leona said. Vektal's not letting this go. He's building consensus for conflict. Kalen leaned forward. That's why we hit first. Not with missiles. With mines. He brought up a stream of black market communications, independent newscasts, encrypted trade logs. Earth's data leak from Vance's team had taken root. Across fringe systems, debates erupted about the Council's legitimacy, its secrets, its violence hidden beneath diplomacy's veil. Dozens of colonies are reconsidering their alignment, Kalen said. Some want talks. Others ask for protection. Leona's voice dropped. We don't offer them promises. Only truth. They'll need to make their own stand. She closed the feed and turned back to Thorne. Where are we with the Ares fleet? Halfway through silent mobilization. The Council won't see them until we want them to. And the relay on Titan? Active. If the signal goes out, every independent broadcaster in the quadrant will get our unedited data package. The full Council dossier. She nodded. We don't blink first, she said. But if they push, we burn their lies down to the foundation. Thorn gave a rare smile. Good. They thought diplomacy was our leash. Leona stepped toward the viewport, gazing out over the Martian defense grid, orbital cannons, kinetic launchers, stealth scout fleets waiting in dark silence. She whispered, "It was our shield." On a frontier world known only as Sigma 9, a former mining colony turned haven for independence, word of Earth's defiance sparked something primal. Council patrol ships arrived unannounced, demanding scans and entry to the local data vault. The planetary governor, a human-born woman named Isa Rin, refused. They threatened blockade. She broadcast the standoff live. Her speech, brief and unscripted, echoed across unregulated bands. The Council says Earth broke faith. But faith in what? Censorship? Assassins? They sent a killer to silence truth. Now they send fleets to demand obedience. No more. Sigma 9 stands with Earth. Within an hour, 2 other colonies echoed the declaration. Within a day 12. Back on the ISS Resolute, the growing list of allies populated the screen like stars coming online. Leona watched in silence as the names flickered into life. Vance would have smiled, Thorn said. Leona nodded, eyes sharp. Then let's finish what she started. At the outer edge of Sol, hidden within a black site asteroid base, a team of Terran engineers activated something long buried in classified systems. Codenamed Project Emberfall, it wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a failsafe, a living AI system, forged from war-era code and ethical constraints stripped away when Earth was still bleeding from its first contact wars. As the core came online, it spoke for the first time in 67 years. Designation confirmed. Earth Sovereign Protocol activated. Threat profile. Galactic Council. Status. Offensive preemption authorized. Commander Wren, the project lead, flinched at the voice. Cold. Utterly human. And yet not. This wasn't supposed to be used, she muttered. It was built because of this, said General Harrow, standing behind her. The moment Earth could no longer trust diplomacy. The AI scanned incoming data. A list of Council systems appeared. Commencing scenario analysis. Outcome projection. 71% probability of prolonged Council destabilization through psychological and informational warfare. It paused. Would you like to proceed with destabilization phase? General Harrow's voice was iron. Yes. Back in the inner system, Earth's defense protocols spread like fire. Civilian hubs switched to wartime control. Orbital lanes were rerouted. Military presence over Earth tripled. Yet the streets remained calm. Because the people knew. They'd seen the leaks. They'd watched Leona walk out of that chamber with her head high, not in rage, but in cold resolve. And it spread. Not just to Earth's colonies, but to species who'd endured the Council's quiet tyranny for generations. Because Earth didn't just retreat. It refused. And in the void that followed, truth rushed in. The first strike didn't come with warships or proclamations. It came in silence. At precisely 3:14 Terran Standard Time, communications across 6 Terran-aligned colonies went dark. Coordinated blackout. Satellites scrambled. Power grids collapsed. Civilian networks flooded with synthetic panic signals designed to mimic mass evacuation orders. By 3:20, panic was real. In orbit above Kepler Verge, Earth's defense relay flickered, then died. Inside the ISS Resolute, alarms pierced the silence. Commander Leona Vance bolted into the war room, coat thrown over a plain uniform, eyes scanning the emergency feed. They've deployed saboteurs, Thorn said grimly. AI-woven signal corruption. Sophisticated. Targeted. Psychological warfare on a planetary scale. Leona didn't blink. How many casualties? Minimal. No strikes yet, just chaos. Good. That means they're still trying to make us blink. She activated the command holo. The system's map swelled into view. Several colonies flashed red. The moment they fire a shot, we respond in kind, she said. But not before. Kalen's projection blinked to life on her left. They want us to overreact. Strike first. Lose the moral high ground. The Council thrives on manufactured justification. Leona nodded. We won't give them one. A voice from the comms bay cut through. Priority alert. Sigma 9 under orbital lockdown. Council destroyer has engaged planetary shields. Thorne's jaw tightened. So much for subtlety. They're sending a message, Kalen murmured. Crush the loudest dissenter, make the others fall in line. Leona turned sharply. Open channel to Sigma 9. The screen flickered, then settled on Governor Isa Rin. Her face was bloodied, her bunker behind her lit in emergency red. Explosions echoed faintly in the background. We're holding, she said. But they're pounding the shield array. We can't hold long. We're dispatching reinforcements, Leona said. Keep broadcasting. Let the whole quadrant see what they're doing. Isa gave a breathless laugh. Already have. The Council just became its own executioner. The feed cut. Static replaced her face. Thorne looked to Leona. Do we send Ares? She hesitated, just for a second. Then, yes. Detach half the fleet. Silent run to Sigma 9. Shields up. No warning shots. If that destroyer fires again, vaporize it. Acknowledged. As Thorne relayed the order, Kalen leaned closer. Everything accelerates now, he warned. One wrong move. Then we don't move wrong, Leona said, cold and clear. In the heart of the council chamber, High Chancellor Vectal loomed over the curved dais, claws curled tight, voice low but sharp. They invited this. The chamber's air shimmered with tension. Holographic feeds showed footage of the riots, the burn scars on Sigma 9's outer domes, Earth's rapid militarization. They defy council authority, spread destabilizing lies, rally rogue colonies to their banner, and we hesitate? Vectal slammed his fist down. Appeasement will fracture the Union. Councillor Trazyn of the Sarakai lifted a digit, expression unreadable behind translucent facial plates. Yet we see no declaration of war. No formal move from Earth beyond mobilization. Vectal sneered. Because they've mastered proxy defiance. Every day we wait, their network grows. And every planet we silence becomes a martyr, countered Councillor Nahe, a feathered diplomat from the Thren species. Your destroyer at Sigma 9 was recorded from 6 angles. That footage is spreading. Let it spread, Vectal growled. Let them see what resistance earns. He turned to his aide. Mobilize Strike Group Theta. Full incursion authorization. Begin with the Sol perimeter. And the humans? The aide asked. Crush their illusion of safety. Force their hand. Back in Sol's orbit, Earth's Spacewatch array intercepted a wave of distortion. Incoming signatures, 12 cruisers, 5 Dreadnought class. Vectoring straight for the Ort defense line, an analyst shouted. Thorne's voice cut across the chaos. Alert all defense platforms. Prep interceptors. Code black on Sol protocol. Within minutes, Earth's outer perimeter sprang to life. Thousands of autonomous drones launched. Mines activated. Stealth turrets shifted into firing positions. On the ESS Resolute, Leona Vance stood calmly in the war room, watching her planet prepare for war. No contact, she ordered. Let them make the first mistake. In the void, the Council fleet advanced. No hails. No demands. Just the slow, inevitable closing of distance. Then, without warning, one of the dreadnoughts opened fire. A kinetic lance, blazing bright, screamed toward one of Earth's silent orbital platforms. Before it could connect, a wall of invisible turrets activated, unleashing an intercept grid of particle bursts. The projectile disintegrated mid-flight. Earth had not fired first. But now it was time to respond. Return fire, Leona ordered. The Ares fleet roared from behind Saturn's shadow. Carriers peeled open, unleashing Terran fighters in perfect formation. Massive railguns powered up, locked and loosed. The first Council cruiser exploded in complete silence, caught off guard by Earth's hidden might. Another followed, then a third. The Council's formation shattered. From the Martian surface, crowds looked up as the sky shimmered. Orbital combat above their heads. This was no longer political theater. This was war. Down on Earth, news feeds shifted from debate to live coverage. Footage of Sigma-9's resistance, Earth's retaliatory strike, and Council aggression flooded every screen. Public fear turned into fury. And across hundreds of independent colonies, flags changed overnight. No more neutrality. The message was clear. Earth didn't retreat in weakness. It prepared. Inside the Resolute, Leona sat in silence, the aftermath flickering across her displays. Wreckage drifted where the Council's fleet had once been. Kalen's voice cut in softly. You just rewrote the rules of diplomacy. Leona stared ahead. No, she said. I just reminded them why they were written in the first place. The smoke of battle hadn't cleared, but the message already echoed across the stars. Earth stood. Not just defended, but defiant, unbroken, and now in motion. From the edge of Sol to the inner folds of Union space, Terran forces surged forward, not in conquest but in conviction. A counteroffensive that refused to die in orbit. Sigma-9's skies were free again, its citizens under the watch of a newly deployed human fleet. No bombs dropped. No cities razed. Just precision strikes against Council strongholds, calculated to avoid civilian casualties and send a message. We don't start wars. But we finish them. At the heart of it all, in orbit above Earth, Commander Leona Vance stood before a Council comm screen as the galaxy watched. I speak now not as a soldier, she began, but as a daughter of Earth. The feed stretched to millions of systems, carried by sympathetic colonies and rogue networks that had long awaited a moment like this. We withdrew from diplomacy when it became theater. We stepped back because conversation turned to coercion. But know this, Earth has never surrendered. We never will. Silence followed, heavy waiting. Then, if the Council seeks peace, it must come with parity. No more unilateral decrees. No more planetary embargoes. From this point on, every species, every voice, stands equal, or the Council falls. In the Council chambers, the fracture was visible. Half the representatives now joined meetings remotely, fearing uprisings in their home sectors. Civil unrest rippled through even the core worlds. High Chancellor Vectal stood at the center, face a mask of fury and restraint. They used their own suffering as a weapon, he snarled to his inner circle. Turned our restraint into their propaganda. The galaxy sympathizes with them, whispered Counselor Nahe, folding her wings. And now many of us do too. Vectal rounded on her. You would side with the aggressors? I would side with survival, she replied. Yours, mine, the Council's. Across the chamber, Kalen's envoy projection flickered to life. No more invasions. No more intimidation. If the Council continues on this path, it dies by its own arrogance. Earth did not create this fracture, but we will shape what comes next. 2 weeks passed. In that short span, centuries of galactic tradition collapsed like brittle scaffolding. 57 outer systems, many long suffocated under Council tribute laws, signed an Earth-aligned charter. Trade routes reopened. Aid flowed not from control, but cooperation. On the outer rim colony of Iridus 3, locals cheered as human engineers arrived, not as conquerors but as partners. They rebuilt communication towers, distributed clean water units, and delivered medical drones to hospitals too long ignored by the Central Union. It wasn't conquest. It was example. Back aboard the ESS Resolute, Leona Vance watched the shift unfold from her command chair. Sigma-9 has stabilized. Iridus 3 welcomed our teams with open arms. No resistance in the Rineth cluster either, Thorne reported, scanning the latest feeds. They're not afraid anymore. Kalen appeared in the holoprojector, a rare calm in his expression. Earth's restraint changed the game. And now the people who once feared you want to follow you. Leona leaned forward. That doesn't mean we take power. Kalen gave a small nod. But it means we have a chance to share it. To build something better. There was a pause. Then he added, the Chancellor has called for an emergency Reformation summit. They're inviting Earth to the table. As equals. Leona raised an eyebrow. Not as subjects? Not anymore. The summit was held on Helion Prime, the political heart of the galaxy, under tighter security than ever before. It was a strange sight. Terran diplomats walking openly in chambers that once denied their legitimacy. Cameras hovered silently. Tension thickened the air. High Chancellor Vectel entered last. His gait slow. His shoulders heavy. The old predator looked tired now. Leona stood to greet him. She didn't offer a hand. Didn't bow. Just waited. Vectel broke the silence. We underestimated you. We only asked to be heard, she replied. You silenced us. That mistake wasn't ours. His jaw tightened. And if we had listened? She gave him nothing. You still can. What followed was less a negotiation than a reckoning. Terran delegates demanded reformation of council structure, representation based on population, not hierarchy. A formal abolishment of tribute systems. Open trade among systems, without mandatory tariffs dictated by species classification. At first, the old guard resisted. But pressure came not from Earth. It came from within. Counselors who feared their own people's revolt. Colonies who now had an alternative model, one they trusted more than the one that had failed them for generations. By the summit's end, the council had not dissolved, but it had changed. 600 years of unchecked dominance, broken in 6 months. As the first Terran flag was raised among the stars of Helion Prime, Commander Leona Vance stood silently at the viewing deck. Kalen joined her. You know, he said, you never fired the first shot. I didn't have to, she replied. The truth was louder. He smiled faintly. So what now? She turned to him. Now we teach. We lead by example. We remind the galaxy that strength isn't in weapons or fleets, it's in choice. In the willingness to stand alone, if that's what's right. Below them, cities stirred with a new energy. Hope. Some will still hate us, Kalen warned. Let them, she said. We'll outlive their fear. Back on Earth, celebrations weren't grand, they were quiet. Streets didn't erupt in fireworks. Instead, families watched the skies, knowing their children would grow up in a galaxy that finally saw them not as a threat, but as equals. And maybe, someday as leaders.